All right, our frank talk continues with Zolani Mkiva. Let's go back to CODESA.
CODESA.
Right? A total, if you like, betrayal of our traditional ways of doing things. This thing, not accommodated in the law. You had to run behind, the time, in fact, in terms of making sure there are certain laws that are put in place later on in the 25 years, etc. Why do you think that what makes us, what has defined us as Africans, was put in the periphery in '94 by our own government and own constituent assembly that wrote this constitution?
It's a sad story. Look, we were there in CODESA too. We tried our level best. We were not even in agreement in calling this country a republic, which was never founded by us. Our view was that make South Africa an amalgamated union of Southern Africa kingdoms. Something along those lines. That is what we were pushing, and we're saying that the main thrust of the constitution of a new South Africa should be primarily be an African constitution based on our culture and the values of Ubuntu.
Yeah.
But we were defeated in that negotiating table because all the Republicans, people who believe in this thing called republicanism, were against us. So the only thing that we walk out with there was the agreement that there should be at least a house of traditional leaders, which was only established in 1997. So I'm trying to say that's where we faltered. You understand? Because this constitution, as it were, much as it is being said to be the best in the world, but it is suffocating on the majority of South Africans, the Africans.
But it's worse because this is done with a majority black government that's supposed to be rooted in these values that we are talking about, values of Ubuntu, values of respecting our traditions and rituals and so on. And now these things are done as symbolic things that are done from time to time. There's a cultural thing, if there's a Heritage Day, then we all now dress in this, traditional attire, come here.
It's the irony of ironies that the leadership of the liberation movement could negate such a very important aspect of who they are. It's a story of the hunters being delegated by the elders, and they come back, but they decide on their own as hunters that the prey that they have caught, that they must share it among themselves without reporting to those who had sent them to hunt. But that's a story for another day.
Before it's a story for another day. Do you think, right, that there was a little bit of co-option that also then went on after we've passed 96 and these things on the Constitution, House of Traditional Affairs? Suddenly we see traditional leaders like Patekile Holomisa, very powerful, inspirational leader, being absorbed into government. We see Mandla Mandela absorbed into government, a number of others.
Well, I wouldn't say they are absorbed. It is through our struggles, actually, that they are there. They are there because we are fighting. We're saying that we have to.
They are part of a system that's disrespecting traditional leaders.
Yeah, but you see, JJ, the only thing you can do in a post-colonial arrangement, you can't fight from outside. You have to find a way to sit in the main table because decisions get taken there.
What if you achieve by sitting on that main table? Give me one or two
Well, it's
things.
a new thing. One of the things that we have achieved is the establishment of the Department of Traditional Affairs. It was not there. It was only established in 2009. And we fought hard for it. The Department of Rural Development, it was never there. And we are fighting now. We're saying that you area, but it is intended to service rural areas. And yet there are offices of traditional leaders, 863 of them located in the villages out there. That is where Traditional Affairs Department should be found. That is where rural development should be found. Otherwise, they will continue to send wheelbarrows to the rural areas, and yet people are expecting tractors. So the best way is to ensure that the planning and everything and the strategy of those two critical departments.
But they made a deputy minister, Obed Bapela, right, to be the head of this traditional ministry. They even put a full minister to be in charge of this thing. And just, dump a fella there who I don't even think is interested in this thing of traditional.
Well.
In fact, I think he saw it as a bit of a demotion.
No, on the contrary, I think Obed Mapela has really tried his level best to learn about the institution.
Why didn't they just put somebody who knew what was going on in the first place? They dumped him there because they didn't know what to do with him. Then he must go and learn first.
The prerogative of the president to appoint the members.
Yeah, that was abused, man.
Well, I think he is trying his level best. I think in the past 5 years, he has really, really shown passion. And he is learning. And I think that he is going to take us somewhere. I'm confident.
No, I'm sure he's done some good work. I mean, this one of the campaigns that I would also like to hear is the whole issue of people, youngsters dying at circumcision, and so he seems to be passionate about getting that right.
Resolved,
in the context of some traditional leaders not wanting to talk about it, making it taboo and so on.
Sure.
He even wanted to ban a movie about it.
No, certainly he has shown great passion in ensuring that we deal with that issue of the deaths and the fatalities that are occurring there. And this is unfortunate, and I always say that this is a human trafficking in disguise. The people who are really creating this mess for us. It's about money. It's about some scoundrels who are using this ritual to try and make a rand and a cent out of it.
Contra Lesa, in terms of the law now, what are your interventions? Because there seems to be, in a sense, a parallel constitutional existence. In other words, you've got traditional law, right? And if you look at marriage, for example, they found a way in which these things can intersect. That there's traditional, but if you are just married traditionally, it doesn't look like your marriage is recognized, and until you go and sign at Home Affairs.
We have won that one. We have won that.
And I'm saying that is there an example of something like that in other aspects of life?
We are now pursuing the issue of the recognition of the traditional courts.
Okay.
Yes, because traditional leaders, by virtue of them being traditional leaders, they are also judicial officers who preside over the cases in these rural areas. We are saying, therefore, that those courts must be given the full powers of ensuring that they consider matters and resolve matters. Because the courts, which are based on the Western system, will never, ever be accessible to our people, because in order to access them, you have to have money. There's no justice.
But why can't we just make those courts accessible? Because can you imagine if we are running a parallel system, people are going to go and do what is called forum shopping, right? Well, I do something wrong in Ikofimvava, and then I run off to East London to a court there.
Well, our belief is that even these Western-based courts, we're saying they are Western-based because they are using the Roman Dutch laws and English common laws. We're saying that there is no need for people to really use money in order to access justice. We're saying that approach in itself is an injustice.
But I'm saying if you solve that, will you still need a parallel system where traditional leaders who may have no clue of the law, not just Western law, even traditional law, some of them, who are youngsters, who are still wet behind the ears, who just inherited the kingship, which is fine, right? But you are now saying they must now preside over a big case of murder and what have you. I mean, that's dangerous, isn't it?
No. When it comes to murder, we understand that.
Okay.
Because these courts have not yet been empowered. But ideally, it would be good for South Africa to have one system of justice. Where in that system must fundamentally be an African system.
Yes.
Because we believe in restorative justice. Not retribution.
Retribution, yes.
Of which the Roman Dutch law encourages. So our idea actually is that when we say we need to review the entire constitution of South Africa, so that it is based on the African culture and the African.
But does it look like anybody is listening to you in that regard? I mean, one of the big issues that were a big omission at CODESA was the whole issue of land. Traditional leaders are supposed to be custodians of the land. Yet it's 25 years down the line, we're still battling. We needed the EFF.
Well,
to go and harass the ANC into a resolution 24 years after the ANC has been in power.
We have lost a lot of time.
With Contra Lesa being in the pockets of the governing party.
We are not in the pockets of the government. We have always been fighting with the ANC and the government in saying that the issue of the land needs to be actually resolved. We went into the struggle because of the land question, primarily. So as long as the land has not been restored to its rightful owners, we'll never stop taking the struggle forward. The wars of dispossession and the wars of resistance were about the defense of the land and ensuring that it gets restored.
But nobody seems to remember the war of resistance in Kodesa too, where you were present. I mean, in fact, it's the first time in many years I had anybody even talking about the wars of resistance in relation to land redistribution. I'm saying, if you're talking to me frankly, have we not dropped the ball as traditional leaders?
No, we have not.
As controllers on land, because your people are landless.
No, it is not us who have dropped the ball on land. The land is a national question. And therefore, we looked up to the liberation movement to ensure that as the leader of society, it assists us in that regard. They have dropped the ball on the land question. And the good thing is that they are taking corrective measures. Of course, it's 25 years later. We are hopeful now that this expropriation of land without compensation is what will lead us in ensuring that we restore that land back to its rightful owner.
Closer to the elections, you are seen consulting with the EFF on the land issue. Where is it out of desperation that maybe the answer no longer lies within the ANC?
The land question lies with all the people of South Africa. But we took a decision as the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa that we must engage all the progressive forces, particularly the former liberation movements. Then we said plus the EFF, because the EFF in essence is the youth league of the ANC.
I don't think the youth league would like you to say that.
Of course, they will not like me to say that, but the EFF has closed that gap insofar as the politics of the youth league of the ANC. But that's not mine to deal with. So we met with the EFF in that context. We met with COSATU, we met with the PAC, we met with AZAPO as Contralesa, we met with the ANC. So it was consultations to say, look, the only thing that unites us is the land.
The land.
And therefore, let's work together. And we, as traditional leaders, through Contralesa, we will lead you on this question.
We didn't meet the DA.
No, we did not meet with the DA.
Which is strange, because your king, the Jalin Jebo, he was a member before going to prison. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after the break. We're talking to Zolani Mkiva. He's trying to convince me that Contralesa has been doing the most in trying to get the South African law to respond to traditional values, to culture, and so on. Justice system being, so westernized, etc. Conversation continues after the break.